Step into the Gardener's Lodge with me, Mykal. Let's explore the fascinating world of gardening, nature and ecology through conversations with experts, thought leaders, passionate enthusiasts and of course, some real good friends. All from the cosy heart of the lodge. Come on in. The Gardener's Lodge podcast is created on the traditional lands of the Darug and Gundungurra people in the Blue Mountains. We pay respect to all First Nations elders, past and present. G'day. Picture this. It's an early autumn afternoon. I'm sitting surrounded by beautiful produce grown completely organically on a sloping block that overlooks the mountains. I'm chatting with Rhiannon from Mountains Gourmet. She is an organic farmer, an organic small market gardener. She produces veggie boxes for the local community. She supplies fresh produce to Australia's largest, most successful mainstream technology company. She cares about the produce people put into their mouths. I love this interview because of the location that we recorded in. There was many interruptions, which have been edited out, but we are sitting in a working farm. She had people coming and picking up boxes. She had her dad dropping off some supplies. It was amazing to get to experience a little bit of Rhiannon's life. And I am so glad that we had the opportunity to record with her. The chat covers a wide range of subjects from market gardening through to the food web, through to running a successful small business in the small ag industry. It was a great chat. I can't wait for you to listen to the full episode. But first, of course, we have our 6 rapid fire questions for Rhiannon. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Favorite plant?
Tomatoes.
Favorite way to connect with nature?
Hands in dirt. Soil. Hands in soil.
Most beautiful garden or natural landscape that you've ever visited?
The McDonald Ranges are just stunning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Weirdly barren, but amazing.
Favorite garden tool?
I have this weird planting tool, but it is perfect for the seed blocks.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what to call it.
Like a Hamilton planter?
Here.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's kind of like a hori knife.
Yeah, but not a knife.
Yeah. If you could be one, would you be a plant or an animal?
Animal.
If you're looking to research anything, where do you go to find the most sound advice?
I'm like an experienced girl, so I will look for a podcast on the thing. So when someone else has already experienced it, I can try and look that up. But if it's something really specific, because my hands are always dirty, I'm a big like, hey Siri, what's the answer to this? And then go from there, like see what she gives me. We
are sitting in the middle of your market garden. It's beautiful here. It's like a big field with, your rows and rows of veggies that you grow for the local community, facing back right onto a gully in the Blue Mountains with a native bush kind of in front of us here. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is beautiful. There's a few weeds popping up here and there, but all manageable.
That's every garden.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, I am super lucky to have, a north-facing slope. And I look out at, I think it's Mount Hay. There's a mountain over there that looks very beautiful.
It does look very beautiful.
It's like you can see all the way through the gully, all the way out, which is great for views, not great for weather patterns. This is very exposed here, coming through that gully.
So what was your journey to farming or to small scale farming or peri-urban farming?
Yeah. I studied a degree of animal and veterinary bioscience at Sydney Uni. So after school, I went straight to uni and lived in Sydney for a few years. I was very keen to get out of the mountains because I actually grew up here. And in that, I actually majored in livestock production systems. So I was really keen to get into cattle and sheep and all of that sort of stuff. No thoughts about like healthy and organic growing and regenerative agriculture until I actually got into the industry and was like, oh, this is not very healthy and this system is so broken.
Here. Yeah.
There's some big problems. I've got a bit of a I can fix any problem sort of attitude.
Yeah.
But I also was very aware that, one person, it's hard to make change on a huge scale, but if you start small, then it's doable. So I worked on a lot of different farms and got a lot of experience like while traveling Australia. So I bought a bus and I fitted it out to a little tiny home, and I traveled
God.
up the East Coast and into Alice Springs for about 18 months. It was
Wow.
pretty great.
That is
It
amazing.
was awesome, yeah. So it was like post uni, I went to South America for a few months, had fun, and then came home and was like, all right, I'm going to finish this bus, and then I'm going to go travel, and I'm going to become a consultant, a farm consultant. I'm just going to get all of this knowledge. And then, you know, every farm that I went to, you could just tell, you know, these middle or late aged white men, there's no way they're listening to a small blonde girl telling them that they should implement this on their farm. So I was like, okay, time to actually think about what you know, what I can do and where my niche might be. Obviously felt really comfortable in the mountains, but yeah, and then COVID happened and I got a full-time assistant manager's role in a farm in the Hawkesbury
Okay.
called Hebron Farm. And it was awesome. Like, it was just, you know, we had cattle, we had sheep, goats, chickens, orchard, and market garden. So we just had
Wow.
like a finger in every pie.
Yeah.
And I just got to learn so much under my manager at the time. She had a master's in organic farming. So I just learned so much so quickly. And then she decided to move back to Queensland. So then the farm was mine to look after. And I was like, oh shit.
Oh my God.
It's time. It's time to step up.
How long were you there before that happened?
Like 4 months.
Oh.
Yeah, it was quick.
Good God.
Yeah, and I was like a 23-year-old that was like all ego, ready to go. So obviously I was like, yeah, I got this. No problem. Consider it done. And then I was just like floundering around for 2 years I was there, and, you know, had staff come and go, and it was awesome. It ended up being a fully female run farm. So we loved that. And then, you know, I needed to make a move for money and less travel to work because it was a long way to work, you know, an hour and a half each way. And then, yeah, I worked in North Richmond for about 6 months, had some great money, but we just kept getting flooded. We were farming on the river flats, and it was when all those floods came through.
Yes, the wettest years of my life.
Oh my gosh, it was so wet. And I was like, I think I'm becoming a frog.
Yes, yeah. Especially down there. I mean, didn't it flood like 3 times in a year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the year that I left Hebron Farm, we already had one flood, and then I'd moved to Happy Farm, and, you know, we had the market garden, we had some sheep, and just like it was a smaller farm, but sort of a bit more finances behind it. And yeah, we lost the whole market garden 3 times.
So was it that experience the experience at those farms that kind of moved you away from livestock and into sort of more vegetable and market gardening?
Yeah, I mean, the combination of the floods and, I mean, it didn't turn me off livestock at all, but the combination of the floods is what moved me back to the mountains, like actual mountains that can't literally flood.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, yeah, and I mean, I grew up on acreage just down the road here, so I was like, oh, I'll just farm back at home. And then, you know, farming with family is hard.
Doing
Any
anything with
business,
family is
yeah,
hard,
any
yeah.
business with family is hard, and I was super lucky that this property was available to lease. But I moved away from livestock mostly because I just didn't have the space to do it.
Yeah.
And to do livestock as a young person, the amount of capital you have to invest is crazy.
Absolutely.
And there's huge risk, you know, like if you get a disease through the whole flock, or, you know, floods or something like that, and you lose the whole flock, you're probably losing 30 to 50 grand.
And particularly in
you know?
Australia, I mean, you know, less so over this side of the Great Dividing Range, but if you're over the other side, you've got drought to contend with.
Bushfires.
So bushfires, yeah, it's so volatile.
Exactly, yeah. Whereas and as well, I looked at farmers who had been farming for, you know, when I was working out in Alice Springs, they're like, yes, we get one holiday every 3 years because we can't leave the cattle. Whereas if veggies, they're all on a drip irrigation and I can leave whenever I want.
You're out of here.
It's great. I'm going for the weekend. See ya. So yeah, that was a huge thing as well. I was like, I mean, I always work hard, but I wanted to have some sort of choice in my lifestyle.
A little more freedom.
A little more freedom. And when you're working with livestock, you just have so much responsibility. I miss it, but I also don't miss it at all. You know, I miss doing the work with the sheep, but I also don't miss thinking about them 24/7.
So before you mentioned that I guess you created an all-female farm, more and more women are getting into farming, and I kind of see it a lot in small-scale farming, or basically what you're doing here. What do you think the driver is for that?
I think a lot of women are getting back into small-scale farming. Like, I mean, originally farming and market garden is so innately feminine in a way. Like, you know, the nonnas would be out there weeding and like picking all the tomatoes and all that sort of stuff. But I think through like COVID and just before COVID, like a lot of people just got that connection again to growing their own through, thinking that we're all going to starve and be like, oh no, quick, I need to grow my tomatoes. And I think a lot of people realize you can do it. It's doable. It's doable on a small scale. I think also the push for dual income, like throughout, I mean, for me especially, throughout, like, I don't know, when you start to decide to have kids with a partner or something like that, having a market garden or having something else growing at home means that you can still be at home but still be earning an income in a way. And that's something that I've thought about as well. Like, this is something that you could have in your backyard on a smaller scale. And even if you're only, making $200 a week by selling a few veggie boxes, you can do that between, well, I imagine you can do that between raising a child, putting in a few hours here and there too. And also being able to supply. I think a lot of people are really excited about supplying their own produce to themselves and their family, because they know where it's come from. There's so much more media coverage about how veggies are grown in commercial farming and that sort of stuff as well.
So before we dive into all of those topics, let's reverse it back and, what is market gardening?
So market gardening is such a broad term, but it's farming on a smaller scale with a variety of crops that you would usually take to a market on the weekend to sell. So when you see a market stall, if it's all just potatoes, you're not going to have a lot of business. But if someone can come and get their silver beet, potatoes, kale, chilies, eggplants, all of the things for the week at the market, like a farmer's market, then they will. So yeah, a market garden is that.
And I suppose it's now kind of like with the internet, you can kind of reach directly out to the consumer as opposed to having to go every Saturday and Sunday to markets around the community. What kind of inspired you to open that aspect of the business?
The veggie boxes, I actually find veggie boxes so tedious, but they're really important in this system because it means there's no waste.
Yeah.
So my veggie boxes are like, you just buy the box per week. You don't get to choose what's in it. It's just whatever's seasonal. And some people love it. Some people prefer to choose what they're eating each week, and that's fine. But it means that after I get my other big orders that actually pay me, then I can be like, oh, okay, so I've got 25 silver beet, 25 bok choy, 25 kilos of cucumbers and that sort of stuff. And I can create a box that has all of whatever's left in the garden into that box. So there is literally zero waste from this farm, which is nice. There's no produce at the end of the week that goes, oh, no one's going to eat it. I have to throw it out or compost it. Like, someone's always bought a box that I can put it into.
Wow. So what are your other avenues of your business? Selling to restaurants?
Yeah, I mean, no restaurants at the moment. So I have Black Cockatoo Bakery. So I guess they're not a restaurant, but a cafe and bakery. So they take produce each week. They take like edible flowers for their pastries. A few of the staff get veggie boxes as well, so that's great. And I started just doing a little produce stand out the front of the Lawson one, the Lawson shop as well, which is really nice. Yeah, and I'm getting a few messages saying like, "Oh, I saw your herbs at the front of Black Cockatoo, and it's really nice to be able to get my basil with my focaccia and stuff like that," which is cute. And then I supply some to Blue Mountains Food Co-op as well in Katoomba.
Yep.
Littleton store, but they've now closed down.
Yeah.
They're a big one as well. And then I have a big client in Sydney, so I deliver down to Canva in Sydney.
Nice. Canva, the tech company.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it's been a really great relationship to have.
So tell me about that then. So do they have a chef that then prepares food for their staff and you're providing the produce?
Pretty much, yeah. So they have,
cool.
I think it's like 5 or 6 full-time chefs for their staff.
It's like Google.
They have, yeah, exactly. It's just a Google model. Yeah. They have the most, I mean, and I'm speaking just from what I see. I have no idea what the actual structure is, but I've worked with them since I've been at Hebron Farm. So Hebron Farm actually used to supply them. And then when Hebron Farm closed down, I just waved my arm in the air and said, "Hey guys, if you still want produce, I'm actually growing up in the Blue Mountains now."
Great.
So they were like, "Yep, sweet." And the next week I was delivering, and they have been the best working relationship I've ever had, like in market gardening. They're so happy to take whatever's seasonal. They're happy to take, if I say, "Oh guys, these are really urgent, I need to move 50 bunches of spring onions," they're like, "No problem, send them down, we'll make a spring onion pesto." And I'm like, sweet.
Wow.
I mean, obviously as well, that's, a big business that has a lot of funding to hit sustainability targets.
Yeah.
And working with small producers ticks all those boxes. So
We're talking about sustainability. What advantages does market gardening offer in terms of sustainability and community impact?
I think having a farm that people can come to and see where their food is grown, that is a huge impact on the community. And people being able to come down, get their veggie box from the farm and walk down while I'm harvesting and say like, oh, wow, like, how did you do this with your tomatoes? Oh, that's an interesting way to trellis these beans, blah, blah. How can I implement that in my garden? So it creates a connection with me, the farmer, to the consumer. It creates a connection from the consumer to their food. And it also then shows them that you can grow all of this organically, and, organically in quotation marks, because this isn't a certified organic farm. It's community certified, it's past organic, it's all regenerative and within the system of sustainability, but also regeneration. It's ticking all the boxes.
So what sustainable techniques do you implement here?
So I'm doing a no-dig system at the moment. So when I started the garden, I actually did an initial power harrow, it's called. Basically, it just turns the top of the soil to rip the grass from the soil. And that allowed me to get a really jump start on growing without a weed pressure. I use mushroom compost as like a top dress, basically. And I also grow my own compost. I guess it is growing, but make my own compost.
Nice.
So the mushroom compost goes down as a bit of a fine layer on top, and because that's a sterile product, it means that I don't have a weed seed problem coming up all the time. So
like you would from, say, your own that you grow?
Yeah, not so much my own, but if I was tilling the soil to make it light and fluffy to plant into, I'd be bringing weeds from lower in the soil up to the surface to germinate. So a lot of the time in like conventional farming and even conventional market gardening, there's a lot of tillage that happens to turn beds quickly to keep veggies growing. And then you get a lot of weeds. So that means that a lot of chemicals have to be used to stop the weeds. And then you just get this never ending cycle of poor quality soil, basically.
Yeah.
So I guess my main tick of sustainability is just soil quality and making sure that the soil is what I'm looking after and the plants are almost a byproduct.
Hey, if you like native plants as much as I do, I have a special treat for you. I've created a free Australian native garden design or planting palette. What it is a collection of beautiful Australian native plants that are very adaptable to all different climates within Australia. So if you're stuck with what to plant in your native garden, download your free Australian native garden design. The free download also comes with a bunch of extra information on the steps you'll need to make it flourish. If that sounds like something that you'd like to take advantage of, the link to the free download is in the show notes below this episode. Check it out.
So what are some of the unique challenges of growing in the Blue Mountains? We're obviously in a kind of probably cool temperate climate here.
Yeah.
You're kind of on a sloping block. You mentioned earlier the prevailing weather systems that come through the valley.
Yeah. Yes, it's so specific to this block. I find there's so many little microclimates in the mountains, especially like if I compare my block to, I've got clients in Bullaburra, they go and check their block and we'll have completely different weather in the same day. I think this slope is actually perfect for market gardening. I couldn't tell you the degrees of it, but it's enough.
Like 15?
Yeah.
Maybe a little...
Yeah, maybe even a little bit, like the top is a little bit more and kind of just like terraces its way down.
Yeah.
But it's enough that it never floods. It never like gets waterlogged, which is great. Bit of a problem that the top is actually on a sandstone, I don't know, under cliff sort of thing. So there's a bit of topsoil, but not much. Like this top really can go down to 20, 30 centimeters.
Classic mountain
soil,
yeah.
And then down here is just pure sand.
Oh,
so
yeah, right.
when you get down, like you can tell when the plants actually get down to that sand, because they still kind of just stop growing.
You're more on the Sydney sandstone here.
Yeah, more on the Sydney sandstone. I don't have any clay.
Okay.
Any clay here. So it's basically just sand.
What does sustainable farming mean to you? How do you incorporate regenerative practices into your garden?
Sustainable farming, I think, is super broad and depends on your climate and microclimate. But here, for this to be a sustainable system, I think it's really important to manage the water well and manage the soil well, including erosion and runoff. because I am using mushroom compost and things like that, these sorts of products, it's important that you don't allow a lot of runoff and a lot of overhead spraying, because, you know, that will affect the gully and the beautiful little creek that's down at the bottom of the gully. So that's why there is a lot of buffer of all of that grass and that sort of these deep-rooted plants to help filter anything that's running out of this garden. Touching on that too, using all sustainable and regenerative practices. So no dig, or trying not to disturb the soil as much as possible. Not using any chemical sprays and amendments and things like that. If I do use any amendments, they're always organic, or they are made on site. Nice. Out of things like weeds and stuff like that. Yeah. So I use a lot of effective microorganism sprays to try and boost the actual soil activity to then feed the plants. So again, focusing on the soil being healthy and happy, and then that will create a byproduct of healthy and happy plants.
So feeding the soil to feed the plants.
Exactly.
Not feeding the plants with chemical fertilizers.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, not having that beautiful big green leaf that actually has no nutrients in it.
Yeah.
It's like feeding the soil. And I actually do have a microscope. I don't get it out nearly often enough. I was in a regenerative agriculture mentorship program called RAMP through Southern Cross Uni, and I took the microscope to another farm in Robertson, and we looked at you know, their compost versus my compost, and their soil versus my soil. And it's so cool to see the differences, like their soil that they'd been working on for 20 years, the amount of fungal content in it compared to like soil that I've only been working on for 2 years. And it was just so cool to see like night and day, the difference.
Wow.
And how much like the work can pay off.
Yeah.
Oh, it's really cool. Yeah.
So then how are you managing pests?
I'm just really lucky. No, I mean, here I'm just trying to take a whole system approach.
Yep.
So obviously I've got bush all around me. So I've got birds galore, birds all the time. Amazingly, I haven't had that many issues with bowerbirds. Like sometimes I'll see them jumping through like the kale. They're another thing that looks after the cabbage moth for me, which is really cool.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'll just see them like hopping through, and they'll have a beak full of cabbage moth worms, like caterpillars. It's amazing. But I haven't seen any this season going for the tomatoes. Great. Which is cool.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because they've never ripened. They're just sitting there, just doing nothing. But yeah, I get like big black cockatoos come over, and there's usually about 4 kookaburras sitting in these trees, just hanging out, and come down and they'll grab mice. So mice are sometimes an issue with the compost and stuff.
Yeah.
My little dog does a good job on that too.
Nice.
Kookaburras. I've got Fee's bees down here. She's just brought a heap of hives down.
Cool.
Right down the bottom. Not that they help that much with pests, but it's just nice to have more diversity of insects and things.
Pollination, I suppose.
Yeah, pollination, healthy plants. As I said before, I've got heaps of different types of wasps, which actually compete with the bees a bit. But
I was going to say, being on the bush, you probably have a lot of native insects that are going to come and predate on anything that's trying to attack your veggies.
I saw a blue-banded bee yesterday, or the day before. I was so excited.
Oh my God, amazing.
Yeah, I was up in the beans. I was like, no way.
The climate crisis, or climate change as it's known, is obviously impacting a lot of communities in Australia, including the mountains. Like, I don't know about what you've experienced, but I've certainly experienced things blooming out of season. Tomatoes not ripening.
Yep.
I've got the same issue. I have to take them off and ripen them inside in the windowsill.
Yeah.
What kind of effects are you noticing?
I mean, La Nina is a huge thing for the last few years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just how consistently wet it can be. And then you think you're in the clear and you're like, oh my God, we've had 2 weeks of sun. This is so nice. And then all of a sudden it's like rain for 3 weeks.
Yes.
Or at least like fog or days like this. And I mean, that's why the tomatoes aren't really ripening. And like some of them are orange there, you can see, but they don't really get further than that unless I take them off and ripen them elsewhere, which, you know, I can do, and I usually do anyway, because otherwise the pests can get to them.
Yeah.
I've put a lot more heirlooms in this year to try and sort of hit that market, but yeah, just they're on there for so long that the risk is obviously like longer. The risk of damage, because they're such a big tomato as well. Like it only takes one bird to have one little peck and the whole thing's gone.
Yeah, exactly. Or one little grub to get into it.
Exactly. But yeah, I've definitely noticed things, bolting when they shouldn't, or you know, the soil dries out a lot quicker from one day of sun and then a bit of wind, and just you know, you used to be able to say, don't plant your tomatoes until the running of the Melbourne Cup. And then now it's like, well, actually, we're probably going to get a really weird hot spell and you could get away with planting them earlier, or there won't be a frost until this date, or I don't know. It is a huge risk. It's so hard to know now what's going to happen, and it is makes it really hard to plan.
Yeah.
Which has led me to plant things that, you know, like kale and a lot of silver beet, because it doesn't matter if that gets frost.
Yeah.
Anyway, and it'll be fine. But now I'm noticing that I probably need to rotate families in the garden a bit more, because I'm getting issues with Cercospora or black rot and things like that. So that's another challenge to add to it.
And you're right. It's like, it's not necessarily just the rain constantly, but it's the days like today that are just overcast, and you know, then tomorrow it'll be like 35 degrees and blasting sun, and then the wind will come through and rip any moisture out of everything. And yeah, right. It's just hard to plan, and I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Yeah, and it's perfect disease breeding conditions.
Yeah,
you know,
wet, hot.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're just basically one big agar plate. Just breeding all the different bacterias.
So on that note, I suppose, like you conduct workshops within the community. You invite people down to your farm. You teach them how to grow healthy food for themselves. That might be a bit of a challenge then, with what you were just talking about. But what actually inspired you to bring people through your property and show them how to grow the healthy food, show them how to care for land and care for the soil?
I think there's a few parts to that answer. I have always had a background in teaching, like unofficial teaching. So when I was younger, when I was in competing, let me start that again. When I was younger, I was riding horses and competing a lot. And then, you know, I'd grow out of horses or ponies, and I'd be like, oh, Mum, we can't sell Penny. So Mum would be like, okay, well, you better start giving lessons on her so she can pay her way. So I started giving lessons on my old ponies. And that was really nice to connect with community that way. Because then it meant that people that couldn't have their own ponies in, you know, horses in this area, which there are actually a lot around, like just down the valley there's a few ponies. Anyway, and yeah, so people would come to my parents' property to come for horse riding lessons. So I've sort of always had that like open home, come and use, you know, we're so lucky to have what we have, so come and like we'll share it with as many people as we can. And then I think that sort of carried over. I really missed during COVID when, you know, no one was allowed to visit the farm. No one, when I was out at Hebron, and it's such a beautiful property. Luckily we did have Airbnbs on that property. So when things opened back up, we started having like guests coming back to the farm, and I could be like, okay, come for a walk down to the garden, and they'd pick their dinner and stuff like that. So yeah, I've always sort of had that teaching nature. I learned to swim coach for a while too. So just always connecting with people and trying to pass on the skills and that sort of thing. And then, yeah, I knew I wanted that to be part of my model when I bought the farm up here. I wanted to have a space that was sort of small enough for people to relate to and feel comfortable in. So I actually have another plot in Bullaburra that is a small market garden, and that's really good for teaching in, because it's really, like a really tight little micro market garden in a way, and it's got a little greenhouse and quail, and it just gives people this vision of like, oh, if I only have 15 meters squared, I can actually produce enough food for 10 families, you know, and consistently. And if I can like plan it this way, and I really wanted to be able to sort of have that demonstration farm. So where we're sitting now is more the production farm. I don't invite people here that often, or when I do, it's like quite structured. But the Bullaburra plot is where I host like my seasonal workshops. So it's all about like, you can do this at your own home. So I call it a grow at home workshop.
Nice.
Yeah, it's good. And that's usually a group of between 5 and 10 people at one time.
So nice and small.
Yeah.
And they're just one-offs?
Yeah, I mean, they're similar workshop each time, but they're very seasonal based. So the last one I did was all about tomato pruning for your seasonal, like getting through summer basically, because everyone always says that. They're like, I've just got so many tomatoes and they're not ripening, and I'm like, same here. But you can actually do a few things to, you know, give the plant a bit more structure and help along the way. But then in winter, I did one, or coming into winter, I did one about how to make a greenhouse and how to create a hot compost inside the greenhouse to heat it. And, things like that, where it's like little skills that people might, be able to apply in their own home, or how to, even just setting up a greenhouse or giving them the confidence to do that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
We'll go into people's homes and consult with them on, I guess, positioning of the veggie patch and soil and all of those kind of things. How do you find that process?
I think it's so individual, because it depends on the person and how much work or help they actually need.
Yeah.
But yeah, some people will come into it with like this absolutely blank slate of like, I just bought this property and I want to put in a veggie patch that feeds me and my 2 kids and my husband. And, and then it's like, all right, sweet. Here's the design. Here's where I'd place it. If you need help installing it, let me know. And then, I can sort of help them every step along the way.
Yeah.
And then you'll have sort of the opposite end where it's like, we've been here for 30 years and we've tried gardening in every corner of this garden and we don't know what to do.
None of it works.
And nothing works. And we also only have 30 seconds of free time per day. It's like, okay, sweet. Well, maybe a veggie box might suit you. Or like maybe just having some herbs at, wherever you get out of your car each day. That's where you should put just some herbs and maybe, I don't know, some salad greens.
Yeah.
And just sort of helping coach people through that they don't have to have a farm to be able to, provide for their family, provide some fresh greens for their family. So it's very individual, and it's also very broad through, from Glenbrook, that one of my clients is down in Glenbrook, then up to Mount Victoria. It's like
Opposite
10 different zones within that. Yeah, it's crazy.
For anyone who doesn't know, the mountains has like the widest ranging climactic zones. So down the bottom, it would be almost like warm temperate, hot temperate.
Yeah.
And then all the way at the top, it's almost just a straight out cool climate. Short summers.
Yeah, short summers and super like foggy, misty, wet.
Yeah.
Up there.
Yeah.
Until it's not, and then it's fiery and dry.
Yeah, and then hot as hell and blistering heat and windy and
so strange. Yeah.
So in your view, why is it important for people today to reconnect with the source of their food?
I think a lot of people are trying harder in life to, be a bit more sustainable, be a bit more thoughtful in what they eat, whether it be for their bodies or for the environment. And I think trying to connect with the food means that you're going to try and source local, and you're going to try and source or like find out who the farmers are in the area. So you get to like physically connect, but mentally connect, socially connect with other people that are keen to look after their bodies and that sort of thing. But I think supporting a local economy as well. So if you're paying a farmer who's living in your area, means that farmer's spending that money in your area as well. So you end up with this thriving local economy.
Yeah.
And I think that really shone through during COVID, especially in the mountains. Like a lot of people, were really rallying to support local, which was really cool.
So it's such a good thing to see, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was really nice. Yeah.
So what role do you think community-based agriculture plays in addressing broader issues with food security?
I think that comes back to like eating within your bioregion as well.
Yeah.
So again, supporting the local economy around you means that you've got sustainable systems in place for the next pandemic, and things like that. So I think teaching people to grow their own, obviously it gives you instant food security within your own backyard. But then if you can have, a street of people who are all growing a different crop each or 2 different crops each, and that creates that like community bond of, hey, I've got heaps of basil at the moment. You've got heaps of coriander. Let's swap. And it means you also get that like mental health exchange of like the chat over the fence with the neighbor, the communication, which I think a lot of people have lost the confidence almost to just say hello to someone in the street, or say like, oh, your garden looks great, or something along those lines.
How do you do that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The sharing of knowledge and the sharing of the community spirit, which I think, the community-based agriculture really supports, and teaching people and passing on knowledge really supports as well.
If you're taking it on that basis of that group, that street that's all growing, 1 or 2 different crops, you're kind of building almost community sufficiency.
Yeah.
Not like self-sufficiency, which is I don't know about you. I think you've got it here, obviously, because you're a market gardener, but it's very hard in like
Oh, yeah,
very small space to be
absolutely.
completely self-sufficient and grow everything you need.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I still wouldn't call this self-sufficient at all because, like, I would love some eggs and some
Yeah.
milk and so, a few other things, but I don't have enough room for a cow,
Yeah.
But we could keep a cow in the neighbour's yard, and someone over there could keep sheep, and that sort of thing. So
chickens, whatever. Yeah.
yeah, so
Totally.
you can definitely do it on a small scale.
So changing tack just a little bit, obviously your market garden is a business, right? So how do you balance the demands of being profitable with, your passion for sustainability and community mindedness? How do those two things kind of interplay with each other?
Well, I suppose securing the land was a community act in itself. So it's a family friend that owns the land, and then I lease it off her. Really, really casual lease. I just pay the water bill for here and the house, and that's my lease.
Great.
And I look after I maintain the property, and so that makes it already a lower cost to create a sustainable system or sustainable business system. Then you want to sort of think about the sale of the product itself, which brings me to produce is getting cheaper and cheaper because agriculture is getting bigger and bigger and less sustainable in a way because people are expecting produce to keep being really cheap. They expect it to be as cheap as Coles and Woolies, which is still, they're getting ridiculous profits out of things and paying farmers so poorly. So it means that it's really hard for small scale organic farmers to make a living wage because of that miscommunication about what the product actually costs to produce by hand. If I had a tractor and I was doing everything by tractor, I'd be able to do it cheaper, but I would be ruining my soil, and then I'd be really putting my foot in it for my long-term sort of profitability, because over time I would have to put more and more chemical on. I'd have to sort of work the soil harder and harder, whereas if at the moment I'm working the soil less and less and I'm getting more and more out of it. So yeah, it's a sort of catch-22 that farmers have to go through. But yeah, the business itself, I suppose the biggest challenge would be, just educating consumers on what it actually costs to grow good food and to grow healthy food and to pay people to, grow that food.
The things you buy at Coles and Woolies are often very low nutrient. If they've come from Australia, that's probably one thing, but if they're coming from overseas, they're being sprayed with chemicals as they come into the country.
Exactly.
So yeah, they're cheap, but they're not feeding and nourishing your body.
Yeah.
Whereas the quality of the food that you grow, you get, I guess it's you get what you pay for, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. You should be able to eat, if you had a silver beet leaf from here and a silver beet leaf from Coles and Woolies, it's grown conventionally, the nutrient density in each of those products should be very different. So if it's grown here, one, because it's picked and delivered within like 3 or 4 hours of being picked from my garden, whereas if Coles and Woolies, it's in a truck for a night, and then it's in a warehouse for a night, and then it's on the shelf for a night, and then you eat it. Yeah. So it's, sometimes 72 hours old just for, fresh greens, what we call fresh in quotation marks greens, whereas if some products are frozen and then, sent. But yeah, the nutrient density makes a huge difference, and the amount of like love and care that goes into the soil then is shown in the nutrient density. So you should be able to eat a leaf of silver beet from a local garden and feel fuller and feel better than if you ate a leaf of silver beet that's 72 hours old and it's just basically water and cellulose. There's nothing else to it.
And then you get the problem with like Coles and Woolworths putting leafy greens in particular in plastic.
It kills me. Like, oh.
Not only for the single-use plastic of it all, but like the fact that that's just not the best way to store it either. Like that just turns it to mush, makes them sweat.
It's gross.
Yeah, it is gross.
And like people just don't realize, or they realize and they just don't care. I don't know, it's strange. It's a weird world we live in.
It really is.
Where convenience is the biggest seller,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I suppose on the weird world thing, being a business owner these days is being a creative. You've got no option but to market yourself.
Yeah.
How do you market your market garden and yourself and all your courses and products that you provide?
Yeah, I mostly just rely on Instagram and Facebook.
So
posting in like local groups, and amazingly flyers, like posters flyers, have the best sort of ability to market events. So I've got most
Interesting.
bookings. When I do flyers, I get the most bookings.
Like in people's letterboxes?
No, just like at the co-op or like on community notice boards and things.
Oh.
And I think that really speaks to the demographic of the mountains.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like anti-social media, you know,
Yes.
people who don't have a Facebook account and stuff, and that's fine. But yeah, it's taken me a little while to realize that and accept that.
Yeah.
But yeah, mostly and just word of mouth, like a lot of word of mouth. I'm really lucky that like the clients that I do have, if I'm running a workshop, they'll repost it or they'll, you know, tell their friends, and that's really nice.
So yeah. I mean, I think word of mouth travels a lot further than Instagram posts
Yeah,
do
people
and
really
all that.
value that
Yeah,
referral, the friend
exactly.
referral.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose the Instagram thing is like an interesting thing because there is like a big gardening community on there, but I feel that personally, I feel that like algorithm is just the death of genuine creativity. And I suppose, you know,
Yeah.
gardening is such a fulfilling thing that feeds your soul that then to turn around and put it through a screen almost feels very alien in a way.
Yeah.
And I think there's a big disconnect between the two.
Yeah.
Do you find that the constraints of having to run a business online impacts the way that you actually want to be running your physical business?
Yeah, absolutely. I found for a little while there, I was like, okay, I'm really going to focus on Instagram and creating good reels. And I had a few like business coaches being like, you need to create a TikTok, like you'll do so well, and all this, and YouTube and all of, and I was like, yeah, I know. I know I'm good at talking to the camera. I'd rather be doing the thing. You know, I'd rather
Yeah.
be just getting this job done and not have to set up a tripod and video it and then edit it and everything. And then that led me to getting a virtual assistant from the Philippines for a little while. And
Oh,
yeah, I mean, it was fun. Like she learnt a lot. I had to proofread things a lot,
yeah,
and
fair.
that really ended up taking up more time. And I was like, you know what? I like thank you so much for your help, but it's just not going to work because it just
To do blog posts and things like that?
yeah, and just content. So
Yeah.
it was, you know, I would be able to just take a heap of videos of me saying like, these are spring onions, and if you cut them like this will happen, rah rah, and then I just send it all to her, and she would create the reel and then
Okay.
post it for me and that sort of stuff. Stuff that I could do and was doing, but it just took off, you know, one less thing for me to do.
Yeah.
Until I'd be like, okay, there's a spelling error here, and this fact isn't right, and you definitely use ChatGPT for that, and things like that. And I was just like, oh gosh. So yeah, and then since then I kind of just really dropped off on the old reels. But when I do post a reel, it's usually very educational and very like, oh, I'll be pruning tomatoes and, you know, show a video about that.
This is how you do it.
And I get really good feedback when I do it.
I love your content.
Yeah,
I think
thanks.
you're right. You do present well on camera and your content is really informational.
Yeah, and casual enough, I find.
I think
which
so.
is nice.
Approachable. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But yeah, I think it is a real struggle. Like business now isn't just doing the thing.
Yeah.
You got to do all the other things, you know?
You got to be a, you know, what do they call it? In acting, like a triple threat. You know, you got to be able to sing, dance, and act.
Yep.
And film it.
Yeah, exactly.
And garden.
And then do your invoices at the end of the day and reconcile them.
Yes.
No. Oh, which I also do all of that, and it's great to be able to be in control of everything, but it's exhausting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because the business sort of has three parts. So it's like the market gardening, the actual produce, and then I've got the workshops, and then I've got sort of education, like subcontracting education. So I teach in childcare centres down in Sydney, and then I also do a lot of permaculture teaching for other permaculture courses.
So tell me about the educating in childcare centres. I guess you're teaching kids about how to grow healthy food and what that means for them. And
so I have a like semi-exclusive relationship with the To Be Me early learning centres in Sydney at the moment. It's so rewarding.
Yeah.
It's exhausting, but it's rewarding.
I should say you've just come.
Yeah, I just came
me
from there.
from that. So thank you.
So I did have dirt all over my face prior to being here. I probably still do. But I go to the centres, and the kids sort of otherwise don't have any connection to gardens or food. So really lucky that these centres have installed gardens for me to teach from at the centres. So there's a rooftop garden, which is awesome, and they've got some fruit trees, and we've just put a native garden in today, which is really cool.
Cool.
Got veggie gardens, worm farm, composts, all the things, you know, which is great. And it gives a chance for the kids to see the process of growing food start to finish. There's also chefs on site at these childcare centres, which is so bougie.
That is bougie.
But yeah, you know, each time the kids come, I'll be like, oh, okay, today we're going to harvest the radishes. And they'll all get a radish each and they'll all run it down to the chef. And the chef is like, wow, great, thank you so much. And then, you know, he'll chop them up and put them through a salad or something like that for their afternoon tea, which is just
That's
so,
awesome.
like, you just can't put a price on that. It's amazing for the kids to be able to do that, especially being like in Burwood and Five Dock, where like they're in the city. They don't get to see gardens ever.
They've got no connection to like, you know, where we're sitting right now.
Yeah, exactly. And the amount of times I'm like, oh God, it'd be good to get them out for an excursion. And then I think about like they're literally 3-year-olds, 3 to 5-year-olds. Like imagine the
Chaos.
report you'd have to do. Like, oh, the chaos. It's really cool to be able to provide that service.
That's so rewarding.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's really good. And it's also just a bit of like stable income.
Yeah.
You know, no matter what happens at the farm to the produce, I know that on Fridays I go down, I get to be, you know, in different weather conditions, but that's okay. And I will get paid.
Yeah.
Which is nice because it's a reality of owning your own business. You know, like sometimes you just
it's wax and wane.
Yeah, exactly. You have low points.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
On that note, what is success to you then? And are you successful?
Yeah, I think I'm successful in what I do at the moment. For me, I'm always a bit of a overachiever. I always try hard to just push it further and further and further. So I'm always thinking about what's next. For a little while there, I was going to open another farm and then, you know, manage 3 farms. And I was just like, what am I doing? I think this is a successful business. Well, people say it's successful because it's lasted more than 3 years.
There you go.
So I'm like, sweet, okay, I'm done. I can hands off now. I don't know. I come from a family of entrepreneurs or family of small business owners. So I feel like it's just sort of ingrained that work isn't done at the end of, you know, 5 o'clock.
So for listeners who might be inspired to start their own either small garden in their backyard or something on the scale of what you've done here, what advice would you have for them?
Just observe first and act second. So observe where the sun goes in your garden and observe how much rain you get or how much fog you get. Do you get a really hard frost? Do you not get a really hard frost? Because information like that Mother Nature gives you is so vital for growing food. And if you can observe first, you might actually just be able to sidestep a few issues, you know, like placing a raised garden bed in the wrong spot, or noticing that you have a resident possum, so you might not want to grow peaches right next to your garden. Things like that. So observe first and act second. And also don't be afraid to connect with people that are already doing it because they're so happy to talk about it.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. Yeah.
Connecting with other people is so important in the journey.
Vital to gardening, I think.
Absolutely.
You have to share information because the more you actually, I've found, the more you actually talk about gardening, the more it locks it in yourself, the knowledge locks in. On the environmental things of observing as well, I find that not looking at the calendar so much, but observing the climate and certain changes that are happening around you to give you clues for things, as opposed to, oh, it's spring, we better shove the, you know.
Yeah, exactly. You know, like all the blossoms are out, therefore the soil must be warm enough for this.
Yeah.
Like, things like that.
Generally, yeah. Generally, it works.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
No problem.
I
really nice.
Appreciate
Good
it.
chat.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
And thank you for having me down here. This is so beautiful.
Oh, no worries.
I love it.
Yeah, it's good to have you here. It's good to share it with people.
Thank you so much for joining me today. If you like the show, don't forget to hit the follow or subscribe button. Tell a friend or two, or maybe even give the show a 5-star rating and a review. If you want more Gardeners Lodge content, you can find our website, our Instagram and our TikTok in the show notes below this episode. The Gardeners Lodge podcast is a growing media production.